Well, hello and welcome to the latest edition, the latest episode of the Millennial Pod. I am Sid, your friendly neighborhood geek. I apologize first and foremost. I know that we skipped on our live stream last weekend. As you can see, this is a new background, this is a new place. That's because I'm at my dad's place, I'm with family. So I just decided that I wanted to spend some time here. And the live stream could wait, but rest assured, we've got a full on show for you today. There's so much that I've got to talk about that I actually had to take out one topic so I could talk about the others. And well, I think I should just get rid of my headphones because clearly they're not working. uh, so yeah, the thing was that today's show was turning out to be so meaty, and there were so many topics that I had to decide to let go of one topic, which again I'm gonna be talking about that in my next live stream. So next weekend, when I do my next live stream, we will be talking about that topic. But without any further delays, let's get straight into it. Uh, 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 yeah. So for those of you who've been attending these frequently, you know what this show is all about. So every weekend, I pick up a few news topics. I like to talk about a trailer that may have just dropped recently, or a movie that I've watched recently that I want to talk about, kind of like a casual review one on one. So that's the format of the show. We've got a few topics. I will be talking about them, but I just tell you guys that this show is not just about me. This is about all of us fans. Only the mic and the camera and the channel are mine, but the show is yours. So please feel free to drop into the comments, share your thoughts, your views, your opinions, just on the condition that you're civil. Uh, Please don't resort to any foul language. Let's be civil here because we're here to talk about the things that we love. And you guys are also my eyes and ears on this show. So if at any point you feel there is an issue with my audio, or you feel there's an issue with the video, if there is a lag, whatever the case be, please don't forget to drop it in the comments because you guys are literally my eyes and ears at this point. And that, let's move on to first thing that we've got on the agenda today, and it's the Supergirl movie. And this movie did not quite land. I mean, I remember when I did my most anticipated movies of 2026. I think Supergirl was at number 6 or number 4. Like it was pretty high up because I had expectations from this movie. And then when the trailer dropped, I loved the trailer. And that's the reason I did a feature length video on the trailer itself. So I dissected every single element, every single Easter egg, every tiny detail that I caught, that I saw. And I was really feeling that this movie was worth it. Although I did do a review watch, so some experts who had gone to the pre-screening, the premiere for this movie, and what their reviews were, I was still actively managing my expectations. Like, I should not be too hyped for this movie. And to be fair, Supergirl is not like an A-tier character. She's like a D-tier, C-tier character in the entire DC roster, a B-tier character at best. So I did manage my expectations pretty well. I did not have very high hopes, and I think for what it's worth, I did not mind sitting in the theater watching this movie for 2 hours, give or take. It was decent, it was fine, but it's not the kind of movie. It's not like Superman that dropped last year, which really stays with you long after the movie's over, and that you want to watch again and again. This Supergirl does not have any recall value. As soon as the movie's done, you're probably going to forget all about it. In terms of the production design, it just felt like it took a lot of bits and pieces from other popular media, other popular IPs, whether that's Star Wars, Mad Max. Uh, that whole scenario. So nothing in the production design really felt original to me. And then the script was a big letdown for me. I felt like it was the writing really that let this movie down. Otherwise, when you've got someone like Amelia Alcock, someone like a Jason Momoa on the cast list for this movie, it should have turned out a lot better than how it did. These were the bits that I liked. So there was Millie Alcock. I loved her. I've loved her since the first season of House of the Dragon. I just feel bad. I would have wanted to see more of her in that world, in that show. Jason Momoa is basically acting as Jason Momoa. I mean, he's got the same problem that a Dwayne Johnson does, or even a Ryan Reynolds to some extent does. That their acting, or the characters that they play are not too different, but for some reason, Jason Momoa is the perfect fit. I repeat, the perfect fit for the character of Lobo. The only character who managed to make me laugh in this entire movie, fortunately or unfortunately. And I also love the actor you can see in the frame here who played the role of Ruthie. I think she brought in that kind of innocence, that childlike curiosity that we saw in the source material. But like everything else in the movie, the writing really let it down. This movie had the potential to be so much more, but it just did not land. But this section is not just to review Supergirl, it is also to look a little closely and see where DC is headed, what's coming up, why is Supergirl a cause for worry, or if it's just an aberration, just an anomaly, and we can just brush it past. Uh, so, the few things that I want to talk about. So, under James Gunn and Peter Safran, one very noteworthy statement that came out from James Gunn was when he said that we're gonna do things differently here. Nothing gets greenlit until the script is ready. And I trusted James Gunn because this guy is, I've spoken about it a million times. There are directors who come from a photography background, and there are directors who come from a writing background. And I always lean more in favor of the writers who became directors because they have a better understanding of, of the characters, of the stories, of how every scene is supposed to progress. Now, of course, to be fair to James Gunn, this wasn't directed by him, this wasn't written by him, it was a different team. But James Gunn is the top dog at DC Studios right now, apart from Peter Safran, but who is more on the management side of things, like the financials and all of that. James Gunn is the creative head of DC at this stage. The first, we were in the middle of Peacemaker when the DC Studios took off under James Gunn. After that, the first full-fledged DC thing that we received from James Gunn was the Superman movie last year. And again, I can never stop raving about that movie because it was just so beautiful. Like, even today, if I don't know what I'm going to watch, I put on that movie and I still have a great time. That's just how good it was. But unlike Marvel, DC relies pretty heavily on its holy trinity, which is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. So, on one hand, where I wasn't a big fan of the Snyderverse because they tried to cram everything into just that one movie in Dawn of Justice, Batman versus Superman. I felt like James Gunn had prepared a runway for these characters to get introduced gradually to find their footing in this new cinematic universe. When Superman was a success, and they announced, whatever was coming up next, I was a little skeptical about just this one tiny thing, that are we relying too heavily on second tier, third tier characters? Like, should DC not be setting up its its holy trinity first and foremost, the real cash grabs, because people may not be aware of whatever's happening in the universe. But if they know there is a Batman movie that's coming out, they would go for it nevertheless. Like, come what may, everyone knows a Batman and everyone knows a Spider-Man, and even if they're not aware of the multiverse, or the studio segregations, or the whole studio behind the scenes operations, people would still go for a Batman movie. People would still go for a Wonder Woman movie. I suppose I understand that Batman wasn't immediately possible because you kind of don't want to put out a Batman movie when there's another Batman movie already coming out from Matt Reeves. So we're getting the Batman 2 from Matt Reeves releasing next year. So it makes sense that you did not want to play around with Batman in DC Studios right now, because two Batmans running parallelly, I don't think it really confuses people or confuses fans. I think it's just a case of two Batman movies just eating into each other's shares. That's what it is. But if not Batman, you should have gone extra hard on the Wonder Woman aspect. We know that the script is in works right now. We know that there are casting calls happening behind the scenes, and a Wonder Woman would have pulled far more people into the theaters compared to a Supergirl. I mean, I'm just being honest here. Then you've got a Flash, you've got Aquaman. Was never really a big deal in DC. In comics in general, it was just with the coming in of Jason Momoa that he kind of made Aquaman cool. But I think there was still some potential there because we've already seen Aquaman on the big screen in recent times. They could have gone in the direction of Aquaman. Flash would have been the absolute best. Again, the Flash was pretty polarizing because people either loved that movie or they absolutely hated it. Unfortunately, I sit in the hating it camp, because I did not like that movie. It was just insufferable for me. I think at this stage it's probably just going to become one of those keywords for this channel: insufferable. So you could have gone with the Flash. You could have gone even Green Lantern. I know you're coming out with a TV series, but you could have just gone with a movie instead, right? Because Green Lantern, again, for all of us who grew up watching those cartoons, who grew up watching Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Young Titans, Teen Titans, all of that, were aware of Green Lantern as well. So I do kind of feel that James Gunn does have an affinity for lesser known characters, and he's a total geek, and I mean this as a compliment. But you could do a Guardians of the Galaxy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at Marvel Studios, because by that point you would have had at least 6 5 6 years of storytelling behind you. The studio was well set. The main characters, the cornerstones, the pillars of that studio had already been set up. Whether that's your Iron Man, your Thor, your Captain America, your Hulk, they were all well established. So you could do a movie about a lesser known team, and people would still go to watch it because the Marvel Studios name had started pulling people into theaters. Over here, it's just a different case. I do understand that if you look at the iconography, if you look at the world building and everything, Supergirl and Superman, they kind of sit in the same space, uh, literally and figuratively. But I feel like they could have gone with another character. They could have gone with a more popular character, a more well known character that people would have really taken to. So I think that's been one problem with the DC. If we look at what's coming up next with DC Studios, so immediately the next thing that we've got is Lanterns. It's going to be an HBO Max series. It's going to start streaming from the 18th of August. Now that's not too far in the future, but Lanterns has struggles. It's struggled with its fair share of I wouldn't say controversies, but kind of like missteps maybe, because Initially, when DC had put out this post, if I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but DC earlier this year, I suppose, they published a post where they just posted a photo of these folders with the names of not just DC, actually, it was Warner Brothers. So they just posted a photo of these folders and saying coming soon. So all those folders had footages from whatever the projects were coming out of Warner Brothers. So Lanterns was one of them, but then they released the House of the Dragon trailer. They released a few other things, but what they released for Lanterns was pretty underwhelming. Like the first thing was barely 10 seconds or something. And then when they released it, it just did not feel like a finished trailer, if I'm being honest. Then they came out with the official, the properly done trailer, which again left a lot of people polarized because for a lot of people, the Hal Jordan costume didn't quite land. And I'm totally on board with them. Like even for me, I just do not I don't understand that suit. I don't like that suit even. So that was one. The other thing was initially this show was supposed to come out before Supergirl, and then it gets pushed behind and Supergirl comes out first. Now another thing that a lot of people have spoken about Supergirl is that it feels like a movie that's gone through a fair share of edits. Like it's a movie that has gone through some rewrites and reshoots, and it is not the original intended version of the movie that we got in the theaters. And I think this kind of shuffle around would have had something to do with it because at some level I feel if Lanterns was coming out before Supergirl, they would have dropped in some Easter eggs, some connective tissue that connects Superman to Lanterns and then connects Lanterns to Supergirl, which would then tie into Man of Tomorrow that's coming out next year. So Lanterns again is right now from where I'm sitting, it seems like a little dicey. Like we're definitely getting the show. There's no two ways about it. But am I confident about the show? I really don't think so. Like I've started getting the DC jitters a little now. For Lanterns, I'm just gonna keep my hopes really low and hopefully it manages to impress me. Next up, that's coming out from DC is Clayface. Now, this is a theatrical release. It's gonna come out on the 23rd of October, so in that Halloween spot. Again, I love the trailer for this movie. I love the trailer. I love the concept. It's something that we don't get enough of in the superhero space. I'm not gonna call it a genre because genre is when you talk about action, comedy, horror, thrillers. These are genres. Superhero films are a category. Now, within that category, the horror aspect hasn't really been explored as much. I think the closest attempt to a horror film in in superhero cinema was probably the New Mutants movie, which nobody really watched. Let's be honest, no one really went to watch that movie, and barely anyone even watched it at home. So while I am in love with the concept of Clayface, I love the trailer, I love the creative team behind this. My only question remains that is Clayface a big enough property to pull people in and to make people buy into this new DCU? Because tell you what, we've seen an entire cinematic universe crash and burn, and of course I'm talking about the Sony Spider-Man universe where they brought in all of those villains, all of those Spidey villains without Spider-Man. And to be honest, yes, all those movies were really bad. Like again, the TMB word, insufferable. Clayface may be a great movie, it may be a fantastic movie, phenomenal movie, but the point still remains that would Clayface do well without a Batman? I really don't think a Clayface has the kind of pull that a Batman does. And in this DCU, where you haven't introduced your Batman yet, and you bring a Clayface straight out of the gates, I don't think how that's gonna go. But we'll wait and watch. It's only the 23rd of October, and then for next year, we've only got one confirmed project so far, which is Man of Tomorrow, kind of like a quasi sequel to uh, Superman that dropped last year. Now, this is the movie that's going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting, in my opinion. Because tell you what, people have trust in James Gunn, people have faith in this new Superman. And of course, I'm not talking about the Snyder Bros, they're busy snorting their stuff elsewhere. But people liked that Superman, people loved David Gordon Sweat, people really I think for the most part also enjoyed I'm forgetting the name of the actor, the dude who played Lex Luthor. So Man of Tomorrow has some real potential to not just be a success. Like, of course it's going to make money, of course it's going to bring people into the theater, but it has to do the exact same job that the Superman movie did last year, which is make people believe in this new DCU, make people believe in DC Studios under the tutelage of James Gunn. Because if that works well, if Man of Tomorrow does well, because let's be honest, Supergirl is probably going to lose Warner Brothers a lot of money. So Man of Tomorrow, if it does well financially, it makes a lot of money. It gives people that hope. Perhaps that is when Warner Brothers can greenlight the next Batman movie in DC Studios, not the Matt Reeves one, in DC Studios. And if Man of Tomorrow does not work, if it fails, I think this may be the end for DC Studios and for James Gunn. And let's not even forget uh, the whole ownership drama that's happening behind the scenes with Paramount, with Skydance, and with Warner Brothers. So there is a lot riding on Man of Tomorrow, and it is the only one true big movie that's coming out which can pull people into this new DC Studios. But those are all just my opinions. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Supergirl, the movie? Where do you think that movie fell short? What other movies or other characters could this new DC have introduced instead of Supergirl, or even going forward instead of these movies? What is that one character or that one movie which you think could have really saved DC Studios right now? Whatever your thoughts, please drop them in the comments. And with we will just move on to the next one. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, this is the big one. Yes, baby, I'm talking about GTA 6. For us millennials, I can't really talk about Gen Z right now, but for all of us millennials, our first, our first experience with a true open world game was GTA. Now, you might have started out with GTA Vice City, might have started out with San Andreas, might have started with the 4 or the 5, although I truly believe that 5th became the biggest GTA game ever, and fairly so because suddenly they brought in so many features. The world has waited a really long time for this one game. I think in the history of gaming, no one's ever waited for a game as long as they have for GTA 6. And fairly so, again, because GTA 6 is the most expensive game to be ever made. And I'm not even exaggerating here when I say that GTA 6 is that one game which is gonna change. It's gonna change the game. Again, no pun intended. But there's going to be so many new features, so many different things that we're going to see in this game, that a lot of other gaming studios are going to follow suit and they're going to upgrade their game. But we've waited a long time. I mean, this movie should have come out 3 years ago, and after constant delays, one after the other after another, we are finally at that stage where GTA 6 has finally started taking their pre-orders. uh, if you've got a PlayStation, you can go on to the PlayStation store and you can book your game, and it is releasing on my missus birthday, which is on the 19th of November. So it's I'm think I'm gonna get to play this game on the 19th, but maybe on the 20th. There are a lot of other talking points with GTA 6, not just that the out or the pre-sales are now open, but a few other points here. The first thing is that if you decide to pre-book this game, if you pre-order this game today, it comes with some free in-game currency. You're going to get access to some weapons, some skins, and 1 month of free GTA Online, which is like GTA Online is it's a more chaotic version of Call of Duty Warzone, but I think it is a superior experience in my view. So that is one. But let me also tell you, it's going to be a pretty expensive affair because, my friend, if they've made the most expensive game in the history of gaming, it's obviously going to cost you a bit. So if and I'm just talking in Indian currency, you could go and check out, wherever you are in the world to see what prices you're getting shown. But if you get a standard edition, you're probably gonna get it. Not probably, you're definitely gonna get it at 6,000 rupees, or you could get the ultimate edition for 1,500 more. Yeah, that's 1,500 more. Uh, for 7,500 rupees. Again, that's expensive, man. Like, I think paying for any game north of 3,000 is really a stretch. I mean, even 3,000, I would consider it an expensive game, but when the basic version, the standard edition, starts at 6,000, it's really pushing my wallet a little too far because here's how I go about it, right? So I set out a budget for myself that this is what I'm going to spend on gaming in a given month. For the cost of this, it's probably going to cost me 3 months where I don't get any other games just so I can get my hands on this. And to be really honest, I've got two other games that I'm really itching for. So one is the 007 game that dropped last month, First Light. I'm really interested in that game. And the other one is the Insomniac Wolverine game, which again looks so fun and so amazing. So yeah, it's going to be some very difficult decision making for me. That do I let go of those two games and just save my money so I can put all of it into GTA 6, or do I get those two games and then just wait for GTA 6 prices to drop maybe around New Year and then get them? Or maybe no, not Black Friday. It's going to be a little too late for Black Friday. But uh, here is another catch then. If I have to get a GTA 6, I'm not really looking at the standard edition. I would be keen on the ultimate edition because the ultimate edition comes with some extra weapons. So the pre-order is going to get you extra weapons and skins and currency in 1 month of GTA Online. But in ultimate edition, you get even more clothes and even more cars that are going to be inaccessible to those playing on a standard edition. So yes, Rockstar Games, you are playing on my FOMO quotient here, and I hate you for it, but I understand you're a studio, you got to make money at the end of the day. Now, here is one thing that happened which was pretty peculiar. So I think I saw this game on the PlayStation Store on the 24th of June, if I'm not mistaken. So it was showing these three packages to me. So the first was the standard edition, the second was the ultimate edition, and the third was the ultimate upgrade. So you could have bought a standard edition and then buy that ultimate upgrade. So you're basically playing the ultimate edition, and cost wise, it was working out to be exactly the same. So If the standard edition is for 6,000, they were charging extra 1,500 bucks for the ultimate upgrade, and you're still paying the same amount. But a couple of days later, when again I went to the PlayStation store to check out the prices, what I saw was they've taken down the ultimate upgrade. So right now, Rockstar Games is putting you in a position where you have to make a choice. Either you get the best GTA experience possible by going straight away for the ultimate edition, you pay that premium, or you buy your standard edition and you stick for it until Rockstar Games decides that they're going to let you play with the fancier cars and the fancier toys. So yeah, it's gonna be quite a year from a gaming perspective. GTA has not made my life any easier. I'm gonna be honest here, but here is another bit of news, and I'm sorry, this may be bad news for a lot of you around here. If you've got a PlayStation 4 or if you've got an Xbox One, you won't be able to play this game. I'm sorry, it's the studio who calls the shots. So you probably will never get to play GTA 6 until you upgrade your console. But the even bigger piece of news here is that a lot of people, they essentially go for actually, before I talk about this, let me say this also. The creators of GTA 6 themselves have acknowledged that the ideal platform to play GTA 6 is not Xbox, it's not PC. Yes, it is PlayStation 5. I think that gives us the winner. So like all you PC players and modders and Xbox nuts, you can probably just you can admit that PlayStation is the superior platform today. Now the final point that I wanted to talk about. GTA and Rockstar Games have openly acknowledged that there are not going to be any physical discs for this game. This connects to a bigger story, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But even if you want to get your hands on a physical GTA game, you're still going to get the same game case, that DVD looking box. But inside that box, there's not going to be any CD, there's not going to be any disc. There is only going to be an online code. It's just going to be a chip, a paper chip, which you're still going to have to go to the PlayStation store. You're going to have to enter that code and download it from there. So there are no CDs. You would essentially, even if you went out to buy a physical box, you would be paying thousands of rupees just for the box. So, um, yeah, it's kind of sad because I do feel like it's the end of an era, because the next to this about physical discs makes me even sad. So, PlayStation has recently announced that by the year 2028, they are going to phase out physical gaming. They're going to get rid of all the physical discs, the CDs, everything. And I think this thing hurts those the with the disc version of PlayStation even more. Like if you've got a digital edition, this is your normal, like you wouldn't understand what is the craze about discs and CDs. But if you're someone who paid that extra premium to get a console with that disc slot, because you wanted to start your game collection, you wanted to get those colorful shiny boxes, display them on a stack somewhere, you can't do them anymore. So people who've got a collection, and however big that collection may be, that is the end of it. PlayStation is not going to have any more CDs from 2028. Now there is another thing that's really sad about it, which is that while I was in Australia, there's this chain called EB Games, and they had a lot of secondhand games. So for me, like I know if I had gone to buy 007 First Light. I wouldn't get it for anything less than $120 if I wanted to get a first hand copy of that game. But I could always go to my nearest EB games maybe a month after the game's been out, and I could get that $120 game for like $80, $90 maybe. So I was saving a lot of money, and also the games I was done with, I could always trade those games in and just use those credits on another game, a newer game, which made my life so much easier, right? But if there are not going to be any physical CDs, any discs, any games that you could trade off at your nearest store, that means every time you want to play a game, you would have to go to the PlayStation store. You would have to pay them whatever they ask you to. You really would not have any choice. There's no options for you anymore. There is the only one place where you go to buy your games. Whatever price they demand, you gotta pay it, or you gotta wait until it hits a price that you're more comfortable with, and then you play. But who knows when that's gonna be? So yeah, this piece of news made me really sad. Like earlier this week, when I was just putting the run sheet together for this show today, I had that point about GTA 4, GTA 6, sorry, saying that they're not going to have any physical discs. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. And just a couple of days later, Sony dropped this bombshell. And I'm like, okay, now suddenly I don't feel so bad about the GTA news, but this makes me really sad. It's truly the end of an era. I think uh, physical media as we knew it is going to be a thing of the past. So hold on to your discs dearly, you know, take care of them. And yeah, my congratulations to those of you who could manage to build a collection. And before we move on to the next one, just wanted to say this in here. This wasn't supposed to be a topic on today's show. I was actually supposed to do uh, a mid-year movie review. So like all the movies we've gotten, in this year till now, which one were my top 5, what am I looking forward to in the second half of 2026, even what are the kind of news, what are the things that I'm expecting in the second half of this year. But because this was such a big piece of news, I had to take that topic out. But again, rest assured, I am gonna do a mid-year review where I'm gonna talk about all the movies that impressed me, that depressed me, and the movies that I'm excited for, and what are the news that we could be expecting in the coming months before 2026 comes to an end. All right, the next one that I want to talk about is there's not going to be any IMAX for the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2026. Now, for some of you who are, you know, who go to the theater frequently, who are at every comic book movie, the way I am, you would have guessed it pretty early on. Because when you go to book your tickets, Spider-Man Brand New Day, the advanced ticket booking was opened, I think 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I think. Uh, and that's when I saw that there were no IMAX screens. Every single MCU movie since um Captain America Brave New World, again, a terrible movie. Never gonna defend that movie. Every action movie that I could, every movie, not even action, any movie that was playing in IMAX, I would go to watch it in IMAX. Now, I also have to acknowledge that India does have an IMAX problem because they brand it as IMAX, but in a sense, in reality, what we're getting is a Limax, because the screens are not that big. It is basically like a more compatible premium large format. That's what it is. I mean, it's not the real IMAX, but it is still an upgrade on going to a regular theater and watching a movie in the regular format. So I dug a little deep. There is going to be no IMAX screenings for Spider-Man Brand New Day, at least for the first 2 weeks, at least. And same goes the case for Avengers Doomsday as well. Uh, and why is that happening? The first thing is that Spider-Man is gonna come, I think, 2 weeks after Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and Doomsday might be coming on the same day as Dune 3. And some people are also naming it as Doomsday, which is a pretty sick name, if I'm being honest. And in both the cases, with Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, again, the Odyssey is the first movie in the history of cinema to be completely shot on IMAX cameras, and that is a pretty expensive affair. And you kind of understand why they want to have that exclusive right over IMAX screens around the world. So, because of that, all the IMAX screens are going to be playing the Odyssey, so you can't watch Spider Man there. With Dune 3, this is where they're going to end the Dune trilogy. Like from here, they would start with their other stories, the prequels and the sequels and everything. But the original trilogy ends with this one. And this is Dune 3's, or the Dune franchise's, chance to finally win an Oscar. They have won a few, but the big Oscars, the ones that truly matter, this is the final shot at it. And again, I would say that Dune movies are truly IMAX worthy. Whether it's the sound, the visuals, the topography, the scenes that you see, they are all IMAX worthy. But because of that, Dune 3 has also blocked all the IMAX screenings, so Avengers Doomsday is not going to be playing in any IMAX theater. Now, I do like IMAX, even though we get LIMAX in India, I still feel it is an upgrade on the regular screens because they they've got better quality projectors, they've got larger screens. The sound systems are really powerful and really good. Like the the ambient sounds, the atmospheric sounds, the even the directional sounds, they all work beautifully in an IMAX theater. And once you go to an IMAX theater, any regular widescreen theater just won't do it for you. But I have to tell you, no matter how good IMAX is, it is not the only movie format there is. Luckily, in this day and age, we've got so many other formats to pick from that even if we don't get an IMAX, there are other options that we could look at. So, because you're not getting and Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday in IMAX, you're not going to get them this year. Here's where you can go. Now, the first choice, uh, which I would strongly recommend, is the Dolby Cinema. Dolby Atmos is the best sound system in cinema, period. And then Dolby Vision, with the contrast, with their high intensity projections, it is the best package that you could ask for. So I don't have anyone near where I live, but if you do, you could definitely check out a Dolby Cinema to watch these movies. You can thank me later. The next one is Inox PXL. Now, the Inox uh, chain of theaters is exclusive to India. If you're out of India, you might have to go on and look around. But the generic name, if not the branded name, they call it premium large formats. So you could just check it out. The premium large formats, the theaters are a little small compared to the IMAX 70 but they're definitely bigger than the IMAX theaters we have here in India. So that's a win. The seats are more comfortable than IMAX. IMAX is definitely a better visual and auditory experience, but the seats are kind of a pain in the ass. Like, again, no pun intended. No pun intended here. So The seats are comfier, and you get 4K projection if you go to an Inox PXL. Whereas if you go to an IMAX theater, what you get there is a 2K projection. So obviously 2K and 4K, there is a world of difference there, right? Uh, the next one is Inox Ice. Now, Inox, like I mentioned, that theater chain is exclusive to India. You might have to go and look around what it's called in your country. This format, it's called ICE, which stands for Immersive Cinema Experience. Now, this is another premium format from PVR Inox. So, where they've got what they've done here is you've got the screen in front of you, and they've got these complementary panels on the side. So, where you're sitting from your seat, you get a 270-degree view. So, the movie's playing there, but even in your peripheral vision, you don't have the exit sign that is kind of disrupting your vision, or uh, other black screens or whatever. The colors on the side panels and everything, they really give you a more immersive experience. So it's almost like the screen in front of you has stretched all around you. So it's a great experience. uh, for me, for the first viewing of Spider-Man Brand New Day, I'm gonna go and watch it in Inox PXL. If you're from Pune, you might know of this place. It's called Hinjawadi. It's like the IT capital of Pune, of West India. But it's also where dreams go to die. But because that is the only place where I could find a premium large format, so that's where I'm gonna go to watch Spider-Man Brand New Day on the first day. For my second screening, I am gonna go to Inox Ice, which again, for Pune people, you may know, it's in Kopa Mall in Koregaon Park. Again, a very affluent part of Pune city, a very swanky place. If I'm honest, one of my favorite bits. So I'm gonna go and watch it there. So yeah, hopefully with those experiences, I would be able to distinguish even more clearly on which format works best. And then the next one is 4DX. I don't have to really tell you a lot about 4DX, but my view as a movie buff, I don't consider 4DX as cinema. That's just the way it is. Like, if I'm going to watch a movie, I can take 3D. I'd love a good 3D, a good IMAX 3D, but I want to know what's going on with Spidey. I want to know what's going on with Peter Parker. I don't want to miss a single dialogue. I don't want to miss a single beat. I don't want my seat just taking me like this, or blowing wind in my face, or spraying my head with water. I don't want that. If it's a movie that I've watched once or twice already, movie that I'm very familiar with, very comfortable with, yes, I would go for that experience. But if this is something that floats your boat, you could definitely go and check out both Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday in 4DX. If you're in Pune, you know where to find it. You can find it at we've got it in Mall of the Millennium, Vakad. Although, to be honest, I've never really gone to one of those, but they do portray it outside. Koregaon Park has one. Viman Nagar has probably the most prominent one. So you can go and check it out there. And then the last format that I'm going to talk about is called the Disney Infinity Vision. Now, this is something that Disney came up with because before they opened the bookings for Spider-Man Brand New Day, they knew that getting IMAX screens is going to be a problem. And this is something that they've worked on, they've developed on their own. They're not going to set up new screens, but essentially, this is a Disney specific premium large format where they would be dishing out certifications to theaters that satisfy their strict criteria on what qualifies and what doesn't qualify as a Disney Infinity Vision. uh, I'm not very hopeful if we're gonna get one in India anytime soon. Although if we do, I think they would start from like a Bangalore or a Hyderabad or something. Might take a bit of time to get to Pune, but I'd be down for it. There is not a lot of information around it except for just what it's called. So if it comes to India by the time Avengers Doomsday is here, and if it is available in your city, I would strongly urge you to check it out, give it a try, and you can always share your opinions on uh, what your experience was like. So my question to all of you, that which of these formats are you most likely to go for to watch Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday? Please drop your thoughts in the comments. And with that, we move on to the final section of the show. So in this section, usually when I do it with my guests or even on my own, I like to talk about some movies that are along similar themes. This time, however, I don't have a big list. I have just got one movie that I watched last night. So, this movie originally released, I think, 3 years ago across the world. It went to a lot of film festivals, won a lot of awards as well. This was a Diljit Dosanjh movie, and at that point, it was called Punjab 95. But the CBFC in India, it proposed, I think, 150 to 300 cuts on this movie. They asked for a lot of changes to be made. And the makers of this movie, they just put their foot down that we're not going to compromise on this. Like, the movie stays the way it is. If it gets released, it gets released. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we're not gonna ruin our work. That a lot of heart went into. So recently, I think it was Friday night that Z5 finally released this movie. Of course, they changed the name from Punjab 95. Now it's called Satluj, Satluj, and you can find it on Z5, starring Diljit Dosanjh. You've got Suvinder Vicky. You've got actually a lot of acting powerhouses from Punjabi cinema specifically in this movie. Now, the movie follows the life of Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalda, who was a human rights activist in Punjab, especially during the time of the Punjab terrorism. Uh, he did a lot of investigation. He was a whistleblower. He actually shed a lot of light on how police were involved in extrajudicial killings, and they were cremating bodies in the dark of the night. Uh, you know, throwing bodies into the rivers, just not even bothering to hand back um, the bodies of the deceased to their families, let alone the extrajudicial killings and all of that. So at quarter to 3 hours, it's a pretty long movie. Like, I think it sits in the longer spectrum, but a beautiful movie. And mate, if I'm being honest, at no point in that entire movie do you ever feel like it is stretching or it is slowed down or whatever. The movie keeps you hooked from the first scene to the last. You're absolutely hooked and immersed in that entire thing. You live and breathe in anxiety with every single character that plays out in front of you. Strongly recommend watching this movie. If you don't have anything else to watch, please go and check out Satluj on Z5 this weekend. You guys can thank me later. But like always, if you guys have any recommendations, any suggestions, movie suggestions for me, please don't forget to drop them in the comments, and I will make sure that I post it as a short and as a reel on my channels for others to enjoy. And that was the show, guys. Thank you so much for all of you who joined the show. You guys truly make it worth my while. The next weekend, again, there is a bit of traveling involved, but I'm not going to make any promises, but I will try my best to put on a show for you, a similar live stream next weekend as well. And in that live stream, there are two things that I really want to talk about. First is I want to do a preview. I want to talk about my expectations from the Odyssey. And also, I've got a slight problem that because I'm home right now, there are no IMAX screens around me here. I will be going to watch Odyssey in the Inox PXL, the premium large format. So I'm not sure how my experience is going to turn out, but still, I want to talk about my expectations from the Odyssey. What are the things that I would really be looking forward to? What are the things that I would be slightly worried about? All of that. And the other would be I would be giving you my half year review of 2026 in movies, in pop culture, in superhero, in cinema. So please stick around. You will be notified. Keep an eye on the community tab. Do keep looking at my stories on Instagram on TMB, because this is where I'll be putting those updates. And if you like the stream, please don't forget to subscribe to TMB, share your thoughts with me in the comments, and hit that thumbs up button, because every single thumbs up that I get truly makes my day. Until next time, this is the Millennial Bard signing off.